I never imagined that agreeing to take care of my neighbor's cat for 3 days could end with firefighters breaking down my door, my apartment flooded, and me being interviewed live on the local news. But that's exactly what happened. I never imagined that agreeing to take care of my neighbor's cat for 3 days could end with firefighters breaking down my door, my apartment flooded, and me being interviewed live on the local news. But that's it. All started on a Thursday morning when Mrs. Elisa knocked on my door with that smile of someone who's about to ask for a favor. She was around 70 years old, white hair always neatly styled, and had lived in the apartment next to mine for at least 2 decades. I've known her since I moved into the building 5 years ago. "Good morning, dear," she said, already coming in before I'd even finished opening the door. "I need a little favor from you." I was still in my pajamas, coffee cup in hand, and that face of someone who just woke up. It was 7:30 in the morning. My work-from-home schedule didn't start until 9, so I had time. But honestly, I just wanted to drink my coffee in peace. "Good morning, Mrs. Elisa. How are you?" "Everything's great, dear. Look, I'm traveling tomorrow to my sister's house in I'll only be gone 3 days. Coming back Monday. Could you check in on Napoleon for me?" Napoleon was her cat. An orange Persian, fat, lazy, and with a perpetually annoyed face. I'd seen that creature a few times in the hallway, always staring at me like I owed him money. "Oh, sure," I answered, because what was I going to say? It was only 3 days. "No problem. What do I need to do?" Her eyes lit up. "Oh, you're an angel. Come here. I'll show you." She dragged me to her apartment, which smelled of lavender and had that classic decoration style that made it feel like we'd traveled back in time. Dark wooden furniture, lace curtains, beige carpet, and there was Napoleon, lying majestically on the sofa, looking at me with absolute disdain. "So, it's quite simple," she began, leading me to the kitchen. "Morning and evening, you give him a kind of wet food. He prefers chicken. You change the water every day. And the litter box, well, you clean it when he uses it." Seemed easy enough. Feed a cat, change water, clean poop. I could do this in my sleep. "And look," she continued, opening a cabinet under the sink. "Here are the cleaning products. I always cleaned the kitchen floor with this one." She pointed to a bottle of some seriously strong chemical. "But you don't need to use it. Actually, don't use it. It's very strong. Just if something spills, wipe it with a cloth. And oh, if you could water that fern in the living room, I'd appreciate it. But just a little bit of water, okay." "It's delicate," I nodded, memorizing everything. Cat, water, poop, fern. Simple. The spare key is under that vase, near the door. You can get it when I leave tomorrow morning, okay? Done deal. Mrs. Eliza, have a safe trip." She hugged me like I'd agreed to donate a kidney. "You're a sweetheart. Napoleon is going to love you." I looked at the cat. He looked back at me. Didn't seem like he was going to love anything. On Friday morning, Mrs. Elisa stopped by my door before leaving. Hair impeccable. Bag packed. All excited to see her sister. She gave me the key, repeated the instructions about 4 more times, and left. First mission: give Napoleon breakfast. I entered her apartment around 8. The place was silent, organized, disturbingly clean. Went straight to the kitchen and opened the can of food. The smell invaded the space immediately. That characteristic cat food smell. That's like a mixture of seafood and chemical industry. "Napoleon!" I called. "Come eat, chubby!" Silence? Napoleon! Nothing. I put the food in his little dish and went looking. Found the creature in the living room, still in the same spot as the day before, lying on the sofa like a lazy king. He looked at me, yawned, and simply turned away. "Napoleon!" I called. "Come eat, chubby!" Silence. "Dude, your food's in the kitchen." He licked a paw. "Seriously, go eat." He closed his eyes. All right. Cat had personality. I left the food there and went off to work. Came back in the late afternoon to check. The food had disappeared from the dish, so apparently His Majesty had deigned to eat. Put out more food, changed the water, cleaned the litter box, which, by the way, he'd used quite enthusiastically, and carefully watered the fern. Mission accomplished! Day 1. Saturday was pretty much the same. Morning, I went in, put out food. Cat ignored me. Evening, same thing. Everything was under control. I even felt kind of confident. This cat-sitting thing was a breeze. It was on Sunday that things started falling apart. I arrived at Mrs. Alyssa's apartment around 10 in the morning, opened the door, and immediately sensed something was different. There was a strange smell in the air. It wasn't bad. Exactly. It was kind of ... chemical sweet. Went to the kitchen. Napoleon was there, sitting near the refrigerator, staring at me with that look of supreme disinterest. Put out his food, changed the water. So far, everything normal. That's when I stepped in a puddle, looked down. The kitchen floor was wet, a small puddle near the sink. My first thought was, the cat knocked over the water bowl, but the bowl was in place, full. Then I noticed the puddle was coming from under the sink. Shit! Opened the cabinet under the sink and ... water. There was water leaking from some pipe. It wasn't a strong jet, but it was continuous. That constant dripping that gradually soaks everything. No, 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 I muttered, entering mild panic mode. Grabbed all the dish towels I could find and started drying the floor. Wrung out the towels in the sink, dried more, wrung them out again. Tried to see where exactly the water was coming from, but didn't understand any of those pipes. Seemed like it was leaking from a joint there in the middle. But when I pressed on it, nothing changed. Napoleon continued watching me, impassive, as if he were watching an incompetent human try to solve a simple problem. Call the building manager. No answer. Sent a message. Nothing. It was Sunday morning. The guy must have been sleeping or at the beach. Tried to close the water shutoff valve, the one that's usually under the sink. Turned the valve. Nothing happened. The water kept leaking. Turned it, Morty, nothing. Started sweating. Okay, let's stay calm, I told myself. It's just a small leak. I'll call Mrs. Eliza. Grabbed my phone and dialed. Rang, went to voicemail. Called again, same thing. She must have been without signal, or with her phone off. Who knows? Took a deep breath, went back under the sink. The water continued. I kept drying, but it seemed pointless. It was like mopping ice. That's when I had an idea, or rather, I had a terrible idea that seemed brilliant at the time. I could close the main water shutoff valve for the apartment. Had to have one, right? Usually near the front door, or in the utility area. Left the kitchen and went looking. Napoleon followed me this time. Curious or judgmental, couldn't tell. Found a compartment in the wall near the door, opened it, and ... There it was. A shutoff valve with a red light. Turned it. The water stopped leaking in the kitchen. I celebrated, punching the air. I solved it. Napoleon yawned. Went back to the kitchen, dried up the rest of the water from the floor, organized everything. Done. Crisis averted. I was practically a hero. Monday, I'd notify the building manager. He'd call a plumber. Problem solved. Easy. Left the apartment feeling competent. Had lunch, watched some videos, answered some messages. The afternoon passed peacefully. Came back at 6 in the evening to give Napoleon dinner. Opened the door and ... wait! There was a sound. A sound of ... running water. Ran to the kitchen. It was dry. Okay. Bathroom. Pushed open the bathroom door and almost fainted. Water. Water everywhere. It was gushing from the base of the toilet, from the shower, from the sink faucet. No, wait. It wasn't from the faucet. It was from inside the sink, as if the plumbing itself had exploded. The floor was completely flooded, water already invading the hallway. No! I shouted, as if that was going to help anything. Napoleon appeared out of nowhere, calmly walked to the edge of the water, looked at the aquatic chaos, looked at me, and walked away. I went into total panic, grabbed towels, threw them on the floor. The towels soaked through in 2 seconds and made no difference whatsoever. The water kept coming. Tried to close the shower faucet, but there was no faucet. It was one of those simple electric showers. Tried to close the sink shutoff valve. Nothing changed. The water started flowing down the hallway toward the living room. That's when I heard it! A scream coming from the apartment below. Water's leaking in here! My heart stopped. The water was going down to the apartment below. Ran to the door, went out to the hallway, went down 1 floor, knocked on the door of the apartment below Mrs. Elisa's. A middle-aged man answered, visibly irritated, pointing to his living room ceiling. Water was dripping from the chandelier. "What's happening up there?" he shouted. I don't know. It leaked. It exploded. I'm going to Dot. I'm going to fix it. Ran back upstairs, entered the apartment. The water now covered the entire hallway and was starting to advance into the living room, threatening Mrs. Elisa's impeccable beige carpet and wooden furniture. Grabbed my phone with trembling hands and called the building manager again. He answered. "Hello. There's a flood here," I shouted. "Apartment 402? Water's gushing. It won't stop." "What do you mean? What did you do?" "I didn't do anything. I just closed the valve because it was leaking in the sink, and now everything's leaking." Silence on the other end. "Then you closed the main shut-off valve?" "Yes." "And then opened it?" "No." Another silence. Heavier. "You have to open it again. Pressure build up. Go there and open it." Hung up, ran to the door, opened the valve compartment, turned the lever back. For a brief, illusory second, I thought I'd solved it. Then I heard a bang. Ran back to the bathroom. A pipe had come loose from the wall. Literally. The connection had given way to the pressure, and now a jet of water was shooting straight from the wall, like a miniature fire hose. Tried to hold the pipe with my hands. Water hit me in the face, soaked me completely. Napoleon watched from afar, probably enjoying my agony. "Building manager," I shouted into the phone when he answered again. The pipe came off the wall. "I've already called the fire department." "Stay there." Fire department? The situation had escalated to fire department. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I stayed there, holding a pipe that was gushing water, completely soaked, while my kind elderly neighbor's apartment turned into an indoor pool. The firefighters arrived 15 minutes later. 15 minutes that felt like 3 hours. They broke down the door, because in the rush I'd let it lock from the inside. Came in with equipment, closed. I don't know which valve, I don't know where. And finally, the water stopped. The apartment was destroyed. The floor completely flooded. The living room furniture soaked. The beige carpet was now dirty water brown. The bathroom looked like a shipwreck scene. And Napoleon? Napoleon was on the sofa, the only place that had stayed dry because it was high up, calmly licking his paw, as if nothing had happened. One of the firefighters looked at me, dripping water, traumatized, and asked, "What exactly happened here?" I tried to explain. Talked about the initial leak, the valve, the pressure, the pipe. It sounded absurd even to me. The firefighter just shook his head. That's when a reporter showed up. I don't know how or why, but someone had called a local news channel. Maybe because firefighters had broken down a door. Maybe because there was water going down to 3 floors below. Maybe because the universe wanted to publicly humiliate me. The reporter shoved a microphone in my face while I was standing there, soaked, exhausted, with an orange cat judging me in the background. "Can you tell us what happened here today?" And I told them, on air, live, for the whole city. Talked about the favor, the cat, the leak, the valve, the pipe, the flood. Said everything with that expression as someone who's already given up on dignity. The story aired on the evening news. My mom called asking if I was okay. My friends sent screenshots to the group chat. I became a local meme. for about 2 days. Mrs. Eliza came back on Monday, saw the apartment still in the drying process, and you know what she did? She laughed. Laughed a lot. Said these things happen, that she'd been needing to renovate the bathroom anyway, and that the important thing was that Napoleon was well fed. The cat, by the way, showed no trauma whatsoever, continued ignoring me solemnly. And me. I learned that taking care of a cat for 3 days can, indeed, turn into a rescue operation involving firefighters, journalists, and an absurd amount of water. But the worst part, 3 weeks later, Mrs. Elisa knocked on my door again. Dear, I'm traveling again. Could you ... I didn't even let her finish, Mrs. Eliza, with all due respect and affection in the world. No. She laughed and said that was fair. Napoleon, from her apartment, gave me that look of disdain one last time, and I closed my door, relieved, promising myself that, from that day forward, my relationship with pets would be strictly visual. From afar? Very far. Preferably with an ocean between us. Thanks for listening. If you want to hear more from my side of the tale, subscribe and stay close.